Just before you come into the body of the church from the gathering area, right before the glass doors to your right-hand side, you'll notice a statue of Jesus with a net of fish at his feet and a blue mural background. That is in picture what we heard in the gospel today. The statue is one that many of you remember as having been on the back wall of the sanctuary way up high in the original church. The mural was added in December, designed by a local artist, Angelica Puzo, and done as a gift to our parish from the Guthrie family in memory of their mother and father, Eddie and Gus Guthrie, that many of you also know. We're making it a vocation shrine. Prayer for bishops, priests, deacons, religious, and also a reminder to our young that we are praying for you in your callings as well. There is Christ with a net of fish at his feet. And we remember what he told Simon Peter today in the gospel. Don't be afraid. From now on, you will be catching men. From now on, you will be catching women. Right at the base of that mural, you'll see some cards, and they change every day. Since this is the year of the priest that we celebrate in the church, posted there are bishops, priests, and seminarians of our diocese. Today we're asked to pray for our auxiliary bishop, Bishop Roger Grease. To the left of that mural, right up at the top, is a picture of St. John Vianney, also known as the Curé of Ars, who is the patron saint of parish priests. And this year dedicated to prayer for priests is under his patronage. Right beneath him, you'll see a picture of Father Becker, who helps out here when I'm away, who celebrated on Tuesday of this week his 85th birthday. Next to him is a picture of me because I am always begging for and grateful for your prayers. And then beneath us, pictures of the three seminarians from our parish. All three are at St. Mary's Seminary in Wickliffe, Ohio. All three are studying theology in the last 5 years of preparation. You'll see John Schneider in his 4th year at St. Mary's, and you'll see Lou Balzer and Scott Goodfellow both in their 1st year at St. Mary's. On Friday of this week, Scott Goodfellow and Lou Balzer will become instituted acolytes by Bishop Pilla at the seminary chapel. They will be commissioned as one of their steps to priesthood to serve at the altar and to serve as extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion. I ask you to keep them in your prayers. I will be there with them on Friday night. That is the scene of today's gospel. Simon Peter had been fishing all night long and hadn't caught a single fish. The next morning has Jesus arriving, preaching to the people, and he gets into Simon's boat and asks him to take him out from shore just a little bit as he continues to sit in that boat and talk to the people. Why did Jesus do that? Well, a big reason was those were days before sound systems and wireless microphones. And to be in a boat a little way from the shore, the water was a surface that reflected sound, and it made it easier for people to hear the Word of God. Jesus finished talking, and he said to Simon Peter, "Now, I want you to go out into the deeper water and lower your nets for a catch." Picture Simon Peter, the professional fisherman, given instructions by a professional carpenter on fishing. "Well, Master, We've been fishing all night long and we haven't gotten a single one. But if you say so, all right. They go out, lower the nets, and got the biggest catch of fish Simon Peter had ever experienced. They called for their partners. They filled 2 boats with those fish, and both boats nearly sank with the weight. And Jesus says to Simon Peter, "Now don't be afraid. From now on, you're going to be catching people." Simon Peter had failed at a night of fishing. The word failure we often think of as being a rather dirty word. We don't like to say it or think it. And yet, as human beings, we do fail, don't we? When we look at our lives, we've all got a catalog of things we wished we'd done differently, or things we wished had turned out differently. That's hard to take, failing. But Jesus came to Simon Peter in Simon Peter's failure. That's where he met the Lord. And the Lord didn't leave him where he found him. Simon Peter had failed in one night of fishing, but he was not a failure in his life. And that's very important for all of us to remember. There's a world of difference between failing at something and being a failure. The Lord came to Simon Peter in his failing and enabled him to succeed. In fact, he called him and he gave him a job. You're going to be dropping your nets again, but this time you're not going to be catching fish, you're going to be catching my people. And the mural points that out. As you look at the people who are in the net of the Lord, you'll see different faces from different parts of the world, including the Bahamas, where we have a partnership, our brothers and sisters in faith, where we are sister parishes to St. Francis Xavier Cathedral in Nassau, the Bahamas, where we are a sister school to St. Bede's School, the smallest and the poorest of the Catholic schools on the island. Don't be afraid, lower your nets again. I will make you fishers of my people. Now, I thought I might open my heart to you this morning in a way that I don't usually do. But I thought that maybe in my telling you a little bit about something that goes on in here, it may sound a little bit like what goes on in your own hearts, and maybe would give you some courage. As I look over nearly 35 years of being a priest, I celebrate my 35th anniversary this June. As I look over those years, there are things that I wish I had done differently. There are things that I wish had turned out differently. There have been times where I have fished all night and not gotten a single fish. Things that I've worked hard at that I have precious little to show for it. Does that sound like you? Now, that's not the whole of my life, but I'd have to say it's a part of it. Ordinarily, I'm rather optimistic and positive, and that's what I try to develop. But I do have those other thoughts from time to time. For instance, when somebody leaves participating in our parish life, And I wonder sometimes, does that mean they rejected me?